And we are live. Welcome everyone back to 305 Takes, and it is Football Friday. We got a great show for you guys today. We're going to talk Bills versus Dolphins this weekend matchup. We're also going to talk about which teams can afford to lose this weekend and more. This Football Friday is brought to you by E2G Sports Network, the presenting sponsor of 305 Takes podcast, where you can tune in live on YouTube every Monday at 2:30 p.m. and every Friday at 3 p.m. throughout this football season. Now, let's get to the podcast. And I think we're going to start off with something that I think a lot of people are looking forward to this weekend, and that is Bills versus Dolphins. And
Yes,
this,
sir.
this Myles is really looking forward to this game. I'm looking forward to this game, not as much as Myles because the Dolphins are Myles' team. And after last week, what I saw from the Dolphins, it definitely showed a lot in terms of the offense. And the Bills, they've just been dominant the first 2 weeks. So it looks like this game right here could potentially be worth something in the end of the season. Is that one extra win that could be the tiebreaker that separates who wins the division, or if the Dolphins or Bills get the fifth seed or the sixth seed in the wild card. It could be one of those determining factors if both teams make the playoffs.
Yeah, it's an absolutely huge game. I honestly think it's the game of the week so far that we have in this NFL Week 3 slate of games. And not only that, with the potential playoff implications that this game already in Week 3 might have down the road when the season comes to that point, it's just really exciting to see what the Dolphins will look like against this Bills team because, like you said, I think the Bills have by leaps and bounds been the best team in the NFL we've had so far throughout this NFL season. Absolutely destroyed the Tennessee Titans, made quick work of the Los Angeles Rams after, getting off to a little bit of a slow start. And Josh Allen has been pretty much as good as everybody thought he was going to be this year. He was, one of the favorites to win the MVP. They were the favorites to win the Super Bowl in general as a team, and they really haven't missed a beat.
I mean, it's pretty scary how good they look. It's pretty scary. I mean, Stephon Diggs, I thought he was going to have a hard time with that Tennessee secondary without Gabe Davis, really no help, and he just made quick work of them pretty easy. They
Josh
shut out
Allen's
Derrick Henry even worse than what the Giants did. The Giants left Henry to 82 yards rushing. He had 25 yards rushing, which is like, bro. But the only thing that's kind of hurting the Bills right now, they do have quite a bit of injuries on the defensive side of the football. They do have quite a bit of defensive injuries. Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer, Ed Oliver. That's just to
Yeah, the Ed
big
Oliver one's
names.
huge. And I also, just in general, I want to see how the Dolphins can repeat success. Obviously, we know they're going to try to get Tyreek and Waddle involved in pretty much all aspects of the game. And, it was a huge part of the Ravens game, and it was a little bit confusing why Waddle was consistently so open over the middle of the field,
Yeah.
which, I mean, you just have to think that has to be an adjustment every team's going to make. Like, do not let this guy just absolutely kill us in the middle of the field. But the thing is, bring the safeties up. You got corners cheating towards those in breaking routes towards the middle of the field. You're gonna have a guy like Tyreek take off the top of the defense, or you have a guy like Cedric Wilson. So there's a lot of different aspects that the Dolphins offense can come at you with, and then defensively is where I really want to see the improvement based off of last week, because we mentioned it on Monday's podcast. That defense looked awful to start off that game. And they made the plays when they needed to, obviously, and that's what kept them in the game on top of the offense, just going absolutely crazy in the fourth quarter. So if the defense can get off to a little bit of a better start, then the Dolphins obviously wouldn't need that comeback, whatever, but we're talking about Josh Allen here, and this is an
Yeah.
offense that has been absolutely clicking. They're featuring
And he
multiple
knows the
backs,
Dolphins defense really well. He knows
and
them
he
well.
hasn't lost to us.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's played well. I think he did have that one loss. That game we talk about all the time when Charles Clay was opening like the back of the end zone. He missed him like 3 times.
Oh yes, the game I was at, the game I was actually at. Yeah, that was a crazy one, and that was pretty much that was when you started realizing, okay, maybe this guy isn't that bad. Like, he's not the guy that's going to throw it into the stands when he's trying to get a goal line fade going. But
I mean, he did miss Charles Clay a lot, but I
yeah,
mean, he was getting open.
And that's like when he started realizing, okay, I might be the best athlete on the field at all times, and that's basically what he has been this
Hmm.
entire year. I mean, we got in the first game, we got the giant stiff arm that he broke out on the safety. In the second game, he's leaping over people in the first or second drive. So, you know, it's going to be a challenge for this team. Like this, both sides of the ball, going against that defense. I think this is probably one of the better groups of linebackers the Dolphins will face. The secondary, I know we mentioned that it is banged up with the two safeties being on the injury report, and they're still waiting for uh, Tre'Davious White to come back from injury to start the season. But I think this is a really good comparison point for the Dolphins. And like I mentioned, this first four games to start the season were obviously highlighted as the toughest stretch of the season. They're already 2-0, so this is kind of house money. You're playing at home; it's a divisional rival. You haven't had the best history against each other. So is this the moment where you could really start to turn it around? And if it does, I mean, McDaniel is going to be a made man down here in Miami, man,
Yeah.
after just 3 weeks.
I mean, it's kind of crazy to know how even respect the betting world is giving the Dolphins going into this game, because if anyone's looking at money line, it's only plus 185 for the Dolphins, which is that's not a lot. It's not a lot. And the Bills, I mean, they're favored. It's minus 225 right now. So betting wise, I don't even. The only bet I like is if they would give the half the point more in the spread if they made it 6. If they made it 6, I'd take the bet. But that's me. Miles, you're muted.
I'm honestly going to stay away from the game just because it's just one of the most exciting games in
Yeah.
my lifetime as a Dolphins fan, and I think there's just going to be so many things to grab a hold of in that game. So I'm personally going to stay away from it, but I absolutely cannot wait for this matchup. I think both teams really match up well against each other. I do want to see what's good with Xavier Howard. I know he was on the injury report this week
Yeah.
with a groin injury, and he really hasn't looked the best to start the season. PFF has him rated as the 82nd quarterback out of 91 quarterbacks that they've had rated this year. So he hasn't gotten off to the most success in the world. And you're going up against Stephon Diggs, who just had 3 touchdowns in a game.
Yeah, Stephon has looked really good. He's looked really good this year so far. And I mean, note it's only been 2 games, so it's obviously sample size. But for anyone who might be interested in this game, do you think they hit the over or the under? It's 53 right now.
I mean, 53 is a lot of points, but I just think the way both the teams move the ball and what we've seen from
I
them
think they
this
hit the
far,
over.
yeah, I would lean over. And especially because the Dolphins' pass rush really hasn't been too much of a factor in either one of these games so far. I know that they got the defensive touchdown off a strip sack, but that was from a blitzing safety in the
Yeah.
Patriots game. Jalen Phillips hasn't really gotten started yet, and I don't know if that's really going to be that important this week because Josh Allen does have the ability to hurt you with his legs.
Yeah.
But I mean, at some point, it would be nice to see some type of pass rush productivity out of this offense team.
Yeah. I mean, we got to see. It's definitely something to look forward to, but after this game, I feel like there's going to be not that many questions, but a lot more implications in their Nets matchup later on the season in Buffalo. I
And I
think,
think also it just gives a lot of more answers for what to expect more out of the Dolphins because now
yeah,
they're facing a team that they want to beat. Okay, the Ravens obviously they wanted to start the season off as well as they could, but now you're getting into divisional rivalry, divisional opponent at home. These are games that are really marquee for teams, especially
yeah,
when they're trying to make that leap from not making the playoffs to making the playoffs with a young quarterback. So
yeah.
this is honestly a really really important game and. I'm super happy that they came back, obviously, last week against the Ravens, and it just honestly adds so much more hype to this matchup.
Yeah, it does. I mean, you have 2-2-0 teams, so one team is going to leave this game 2-1, or who knows, maybe it's a tie and they both end up leaving 2-0-1.
Oh
If
my
they
god,
do,
that'd be crazy.
I'd be livid with that.
That'd be crazy.
I'd be like, no, I'm sick of ties. Ties are not meant for that. But
That would be
to,
crazy.
I would say for me, if I had to pick a winner, oh man,
I don't even know. Winner? That's tough.
I would. I'm going to say the Bills win, but I think it's by a field goal. I think the Dolphins keep it close for the majority of the game. I just think in the end, I think the Bills have like a 10-point lead, and I think the Dolphins cut it to 3 by like the end. But then the onside kick, I think Buffalo recovers and they take the knee.
I mean, just based off what I've seen and the fact that Buffalo has been the best team that I've seen so far, I think it's safe to assume that the Bills will win the game. However, I really want the Dolphins to win. I'm a homer. I'm not going to be anything other than a fan for the Dolphins. So I'll do a 30-24 victory for the Miami Dolphins.
Just the over.
Yeah. I like the over and cover spread and money line. If that comes true, that would be amazing. And I can't even imagine the hype train that's going to follow McDaniel. Like, he honestly might be the most
He'll probably be the favorite for Coach of the Year at that point.
Oh, 100%. 100% would be the favorite for that. And then if they make the playoffs, I think it's a lock that he would make that.
Yeah, it would be a lock that he wins it at that point.
Yeah. I mean, especially for not making the playoffs, being a rookie coach. Yeah, that's a good shot by you.
The only other coach that might have a shot at maybe taking it just because their team is 2-0, it will be probably Brian Dable. Just because the Giants are 2-0, and if they continue success, that would probably be his only competition. But just knowing the Dolphins have a more impressive resume as of right now, it would probably be Mike McDaniel. But let's transition because we got some teams that are 2-0, like we just said, with the Dolphins, Bills, and just previously right now the Giants. But we also have a lot of teams that are 0-2, 1-1. So which teams going into this week cannot afford to lose? Which team?
There's a lot of candidates for this one, but honestly, for me, I think it comes down to two teams, really. I think it comes down to the Bengals, and for me, this one might be a little bit off the board, but I'm going to go the New England Patriots.
Oh, okay. Yeah. The hometown team for E2G.
And they're playing a home game. They have the Ravens, who are coming off a pretty embarrassing loss to the Dolphins at home. So they're obviously going to be motivated to show that that's not what they are as a team. And, it's been a real struggle for this offense. And for really the first time in probably his entire career, there's some legitimate questions about what Bill Belichick is doing while running this organization.
Yeah. Defensively, they look okay. Like, I haven't seen anything bad defensively. It's just the offense. They just can't move the ball.
And it just, still doesn't really make sense how Matt Patricia was your defensive guy, and now he's on the offensive side.
Joe Judge was your special teams coach, became a head coach. Now is your co-offense coordinator. So it's definitely up there. But I'm going to agree with one of your teams. To me, the Bengals, if they go 0-3, I'm sorry, the season is over at that point.
And back-to-back years with a loss to the Jets, if they were to start 0-3, that would be tough.
And Dak Wilson not on the field?
Yeah, in both games. That would be crazy. That would be crazy.
Was it Mark White last year?
Yeah, Mike White.
And then this time if it's Joe Flacco, oh my gosh.
Yeah, that would be super crazy. And the only reason I just feel like at some point their offense has to click, but it's just I just haven't.
Joe Burrow's holding on to that ball way too long.
Well, and they're just getting to him like it's his rookie year again. Like, it's just people are in the backfield constantly.
Yeah, I actually looked at the stat. They showed the win rate for the Bengals offensive line. They have the average win rate. Like, they win the average amount of time is like any offensive line in football. It's just sometimes Burrow's run himself into a sack, and I get that. And other times he's just looking for the big play. But this year might be a year everyone was just saying, hey, maybe it was last year was just a magical year for them, and they're not really what they are.
It really wouldn't be that big of a surprise. It's just the fact that they did have that run last year makes right now where we're sitting even crazier because, all right, you can say it's a fluke, but there's no in between making the Super Bowl and starting 0-2.
Yeah, there is no in between.
That's what I would call a fluke. Like, how do they not have an in between? Like, how do you lose to Cooper Rush? Like, you cannot lose to back-to-back backup quarterbacks.
Cooper Rush. Like, let that sink in. And I don't like to say this about all quarterbacks because I do know they practice hard, they work hard, but still, if you're a backup quarterback, you're a backup for a reason.
Well, and just the name Cooper Rush is literally Madden generated. Like
Yeah,
that's not a real name. Like that's okay. That's you're in year 220 2026
yeah.
in Madden, and you've gotten 3 draft classes in, and they just made up the name Cooper Rush, and that's who beat you last week as a
Well,
7-point favorite.
man, I remember when Dallas had like that other backup, Ben DiNucci.
Yeah, I remember that guy.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh, he was bad.
Dak's injury season, and then you get the comments from Jerry Jones today saying that if Cooper
Quarterback
Rush is playing,
controversy.
yeah, if Cooper Rush is playing well, I would welcome a quarterback controversy when Dak gets back. Everybody needs to earn their spot. Which, okay, I do agree, but bro, do you not remember what your franchise literally went through when this guy broke his ankle? It was Ben DiNucci and Andy Dalton. Like
And that was so bad.
where was the quarterback competition then when Dak snapped his ankle?
And
I didn't hear anything. It was no, let's give him the bag.
Yeah, Andy Dalton was a starter, so you figured, all right, they didn't lose that much, but then it was just so bad.
He was just Cook City. He was Cook City in Dallas. So.
Man, Dallas was so bad when that happened. So we'll see. I mean, they are going to play the Giants this weekend, but I wouldn't say out of all of them, to me, that just makes the Bengals look even worse because Cooper Rush, and then what I want to see out of like mainly their offense, get Joe Mixon involved. Like, do they not know that he's still on the team? Like, if you get him involved, it could actually help your passing game.
That offense has been so confusing. Other than just seeing Joe Burrow being sacked, I haven't seen anything consistent out of them all season. Chase has been relatively quiet. I know Higgins got a touchdown late in the game last week, but I feel like he's been relatively quiet. And for as much hype as they were, getting coming into the season with all the interviews that all 3 of them did together, including Tyler Boyd, and being called, the best receiving core or group that we have in the NFL, it really hasn't lived up to the hype so far this season.
It hasn't.
And I have a couple games that I want to get your opinion on that I think are like losers leave town.
All right.
Raiders, Titans, both teams at 0-2. I think whoever loses that one and goes to 0-3, like
I would say the Titans should lose the game, but if the Raiders lose that game, it is gonna. I think. I hate to say this, Josh McDaniels is not gonna look great in that scenario, and neither will Derek Carr.
Yeah, and the only thing that if that does happen where the Raiders start 0-3, I would be very excited if I was a Devontae Adams fantasy owner, because then at that point, what else do you have to lose? Like, just let that Fresno State connection eat. My second one, this one is it's a little bit of a stretch. I'll admit it, but 49ers Broncos. I don't necessarily think it's a loser leaves town.
Yeah,
but I don't think I think they can still lose. They just can't look how they looked the first 2 weeks.
That's because the thing.
There's people calling Daniel Hackett one of the worst coaching hires we've ever seen.
Yeah, Nathaniel Hackett has not looked good.
2 weeks.
The first week, it's like, all right, it's your first week as a head coach. You have the blunder that everyone saw in the fourth quarter, but then you come out and you look so bad against the Texans.
Your home crowd was chanting the play clock at you so you wouldn't get a delay game.
Exactly. Like that.
In your second game coaching, your first ever home game.
That's pretty bad. That's when I heard the crowd cheering, it made me think of Giannis when it came to the free throws.
Yeah, literally.
It made me think of
from
Giannis.
The counting to the sarcastic cheers when he made them.
Gosh, that was bad. So I'll have to see, but for the
borderline.
For the 49ers, I think the 49ers can lose this game because I still think the 49ers have the strength of a team to bounce back from this.
And we'll see. They haven't had Kittle for the first 2 games. And
apparently he's going to be available this weekend. Like, he'll be there. He won't start, but he'll be available on like third down or those marquee plays in the red zone.
Yeah, so they'll have more opportunity to build upon whatever happens on that Sunday night game with getting Kittle more into the offense. And I know it's weird because he was their starter for the last few years, but with Jimmy G coming in to officially start this game, they do have like a little bit of a feeling out process, you can say, even though this guy's been with the team and knows the offense.
Yeah.
Going from the rookie that, or not the rookie, but the second year player that you had pegged as a starter, and he gets a pretty traumatic injury to go into the backup. Obviously, there's going to be a little bit of things to work out, but I think the 49ers will be okay regardless. I'm a big fan of Kyle Shanahan, but if the Broncos look bad again and at home, and Hackett does something, I think their season has a real potential to go right off the cliff. And I wonder if they have. It's still a little early. I will give it. I mean, we've talked about this. I just personally don't like the dude, but I wonder if they have any. I wonder if they have any buyer's remorse on giving him that contract extension before even seeing him play.
I mean, at this point, I could even probably say the same thing about the Raiders. I could say the same thing, bro. The Raiders haven't even looked good. They honestly haven't looked good either.
They looked good that first half of the
And that's
Cardinals
it.
game, and then they went home. No one showed up for the second half.
Which is crazy because we talked about, man, we were so excited for these AFC West games because it looked like it was just going to be a bloodbath. Now it just looks like how it's going to look every year. The Chargers are looking for a way to beat the Chiefs, and the Chiefs are just going to steamroll through all of them.
Yeah, we were calling the AFC West probably one of the best divisions we've ever seen. We just didn't know that Nathaniel Hackett was gonna be a boob in his first 2 weeks, and
the Raiders just don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, the Raiders. Wow,
I don't know.
Are they ever gonna have a normal season?
I don't think so. I really don't.
They might just be stuck like this forever. And then one last game that I want to get your opinion on, just real quick. I personally think this one is loser leaves town. I have two that fit into this category. I think Eagles, Commanders. I think if the Commanders lose, okay, we can write off their season. I think Wentz will be a really good, valuable or viable quarterback in fantasy because low-key, they have weapons. This Dotson kid looks like he's already hit from Penn State. Yeah. We already know about Scary Terry. Curtis Samuel is finally healthy and being available in multiple games back-to-back, which is something we haven't seen since early in his Carolina days. Gibson, we've mentioned him. He looked good. We're trying to see if Robinson comes back. We've seen Logan Thomas be a really productive tight end the last few years. So if they lose that game at home, and the Eagles, they're coming off a really impressive Monday night game with Hurts looking really well and in control of that offense. And then second one, real quick, Saints at Panthers. I think if the Panthers go on 3, I mean, you got to throw your hands up in the air.
Shut it down.
Yeah.
I would say for the Panthers, yes. The Saints, I don't know. It would be close. It would be close just because of how last week ended.
And with Jameis already so banged up, the dude's playing with like 3 cracks in his vertebrae.
Yeah.
Week 2.
It's not looking good for them. At least for the Saints, they do have Taysom Hill. So they do know they have something at quarterback. And that could at least, they know
Remember
how to
when they started Ian Book on Monday night against the Dolphins last year? Yikes.
No.
Yikes.
That was awful.
Yeah. Because I'm just looking at it as far as like if it was like an NBA or MLB season, the teams that already know, okay, like this, we'll be trading pieces at the trade deadline.
Yeah. Oh man, that's pretty bad. Man, there's quite a few teams that right now they just can't lose. But out of all of them, I still got
the Bengals can't lose.
The Bengals are the team that just cannot lose. If they lose to the Jets, as much as I think we could put a label on it, even though it might be too early, they're pretenders.
I wouldn't be mad at it at all. I hate when people do this, but they are so like in can't lose mode that like if you bet every single penny you have on them and they lose, I am perfectly fine with you DMing Joe Burrow and saying you are the reason I am homeless now. I hate when people do that, but like they legit cannot lose. Like this has to be a lock for them.
Yeah, and I mean I think they're a 6.5 point favorite in that game.
In the Jets game. Yeah, I think it's between 6.5.
Yeah, 6.5.
Yeah. So, and this is back-to-back weeks where they're basically a touchdown favorite.
Yeah, I mean, last week I think they were like an 8-point favorite, and they got cooked. Basically, for that touchdown, like they're dead in the water.
It wasn't competitive. It wasn't competitive
at all. The score was such an outlier for anyone who didn't watch the game, and then, man, I just I need to see something out of the Bengals. I really need to see something because if not, even for fantasy owners, I mean, you have Burrow as a quarterback. This would definitely make some people say, I need to sell him for whatever I can get or find a replacement immediately.
Well, I mean, if they do lose, hopefully he puts up 5 touchdowns so I can sell high because right now I'd be selling out pretty much the bottom of the bottom.
That is true. Yeah.
And same thing with Higgins. It's not even like Higgins has had a game where I can be like, oh, look, dude, he just needs more opportunities. Burrow looks for Chase too much, try to upsell people on him. No, yeah. Guys aren't really helping me either way.
Is probably Chase. Outside of that, they won't keep anyone else. Mixon might even be up on the market if they don't get him involved.
I mean, as of right now, he's been a disappointment fantasy-wise. As of right now. And I know he's the guy that kind of goes hot and cold where sometimes you're like, did I miss something? Was he on the injury report? Why did he only finish with 42 total yards? Because he's a guy. He's specifically a guy you can incorporate in both pass and running game, especially in the screen when your quarterback's being under so much pressure. Just drop a little running back screen and see what happens.
Him and Dalvin Cook and DeAndre Swift are probably the only backs you could say they are legitimate 3-down backs for the run and passing game in all options.
Yeah, because McCaffrey, you could sub him out for a bigger back, especially if it's 3rd and 2, 3rd and 1, something like that.
The only reason I can't put injured players on there so much, at least with DeAndre Swift, Dalvin Cook, and Joe Mixon, they've been there the whole time.
Yeah, they're going to definitely be out there. That's for sure.
That's the only reason why I say them. If not, I would put Saquon in that option because Saquon is just amazing on all levels of the field.
And it looks like the boy's back.
It looks like he's back. He just didn't get any touches against the Panthers.
Well, their whole offensive flow has. I mean, Kenny Golladay has basically been sent to the doghouse. They said, "We'll see you in the middle of the ocean." Yeah, they literally said, "We'll see you in the middle of the ocean. Let us know if you find your way back." Same thing. I mean, Tony, I just don't get
Darius Tony, bro. Like, is he even on the field?
And it's like, there's no need, there's no reason or like want to just like force feed him the balls. Like, even if you think he's bad, like even if Dable's coaching staff came in and said, okay, he's not as hyped as we thought he was, he's explosive, but you don't really know what he's going to do once he gets the ball. Wouldn't you want to give him the ball so you can prove that to the fans instead of like hearing it every week?
Yeah. You kind of want to prove your point at first.
And just be like, dude, I'm right here. Just call the worst plays that target.
Exactly. If you want to, just make them look bad on purpose, and then next thing you know, you actually have a stronger argument for not playing him.
Oh, talk about the hot takes. That I was seeing that all over Twitter yesterday because Jacoby Brissett lit up a Steelers defense without J.J. Watt, and all I kept seeing was Flores held back Tua and Brissett. I was like, oh wow, we're really bored with this game. We're searching for something.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. But I will
that's a reach.
Like, let's be honest, people. Like, Flores is. I'm not gonna say he's the best offensive minded coach, but he really knows how to play a defense. But that defense was so predicated on T.J. Watt. It is predicated with T.J. Watt rushing the passer, and everyone has a role to play when T.J.
because if you look at it, it's basically T.J. and Minka, and then it's like, all right, can we just hold up for 5.5 seconds so TJ can either get to the quarterback, make him throw quick, and if that happens, Minka's somewhere. Minka is just somewhere glued to the ball.
Make a play.
Because I didn't even realize they had Myles Jack. Did you know that?
Yeah, they picked him up like late.
I didn't even know that.
Addition, but I just
Myles Jack and Devin Bush are the Spider-Man meme.
Yeah, because I feel like they're the exact same player.
Exactly.
But the only bad part about Devin Bush, he had the injury. At least with Myles Jack has come back from an injury, and he looks good. So we'll see with that. But I think we should take a break and give a shout-out to our sponsor. You want to take it away, Myles?
Yes, sir. So we are back with another Football Friday. We wanted to give a shout-out to E2G Sports Network for covering everything for us on 305 Takes. You can go to E2G, for your latest NFL news. There's some crazy stuff going on in the NBA world. So with everything that's going on, it's hard to keep track. Well, they got you here at E2G Sports, our official sponsor of the 305 Takes podcast. They cover everything for us, and we're here live on YouTube every Monday at 2:30, and then we got football Fridays every 3 o'clock on Friday. Obviously, with the title and the name, and we'll be live with for you guys breaking down everything. Huge Dolphins game for your boys this weekend. So, like, I really don't have anything more to say other than I can't believe the Dolphins are playing in arguably the biggest game of the week. I don't even know if it's that arguably when you look at the schedule.
Well, considering the schedule matchups, it's only like
it's really crazy that they came out with such banger after banger after banger in week one, like just matchup wise. But then last week you had the exciting finishes. So we'll see. You never know with the NFL. And I honestly, I was thinking about it. I don't think like, okay, there's the Bills, there's the Bucks, there's the Chiefs that are 2-0, and then you have the Eagles, Giants, okay, and Dolphins if you want to consider those teams. But I don't think that it's like years past where there's such strongholds at the top. I think there's a lot of teams on both conferences that are just all mushed into the middle, and you're going to get weeks like week 2 where it's just, oh, the Raiders were really good in the first half, but then the Cardinals decided to wake up and the Raiders went to go take a 3-hour nap in the middle of Las Vegas. So I think there's just going to be a lot of swings back and forth because there's a lot of parity right in the middle. And it's not like there's too many teams that are terrible. I mean, you even saw the Falcons cover last week against the Rams. The one team that I can probably say is terrible, and I'm sorry to do this because I know my boy JC listens, is the Bears. But that's just based off a roster. And the Falcons are terrible, but at least they're being competitive for now. But there's a lot of parity in this league right now.
I mean, but it's like you said, they cover, and that kind of puts a great transition to our next topic, the best bets of the weekend. And I will say there's one bet I'm looking to find. I'm pretty sure I'll have to, maybe you can find it for me on your offshore account. The Nets coach, the Nets team, Ime Udoka will be the head coach for. I will place a bet on the Charlotte Hornets. Because after the news, I mean, well, apparently, we'll get to the whole Ime Udoka thing later on in the show in the season when NBA starts. But if someone could find that bet on an offshore account or anywhere, let me know. I want to place a bet. Because do I know he'll be coaching the Celtics next year? I don't know. There's a lot of things going on, but
no. It's over. He will never coach another game for the Boston Celtics. I'm sorry. I mean, unless it's just Alex Cora, different sport, different crime.
Yep, it could be. Well, we'll see. But we got to talk about the best bets of the weekend. So, Myles, you got any bets in the NFL that you are like, hey, everyone go after this bet. This is very good.
Yes, and I'm sorry to do this to the people. I'm sorry, but I do think this is a really good number and two teams that really don't have anything to play for. So why not try to put as many points on the board? But the over-under in the Texans-Bears game is 38.5 or 39, depending on where you 39. Look at it. Unless it's like week 1 where they played the 49ers, I believe that's way too low.
Yeah.
I believe that's way too low. I know that both these offenses are not the most aesthetically pleasing to watch, and it might be a really weird game, and you might need a couple defensive touchdowns or just some inexplainable things to happen, fumble return for a touchdown, a kickoff return, punt return, whatever the case may be. I just personally think that line is too low. The Texans have been way more feisty than I think we really thought. They were feisty last year too, but to go tie the Colts on the road week 1, last week they started off really well first half against the Broncos. I don't know how much is the Broncos offense just not in sync yet, and how much that is like, okay, the Texans came to play. And I honestly think they're one of those teams where they're going to give you a really good half. Like, they're going to be competitive, and then the wheels might fall off. I don't know if that'll be first half or second half, but as long as they put up points on the board, I can care less. But I'm sorry to do that to the people.
Man, that's not a bad bet. The bet that I looked at was the spread on the Lions-Vikings game. The spread is 6.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good bet for anyone that wants to do it, whatever side you want to take. Vikings -6, Lions +6. I say Lions +6. I think that's a very good bet. I think the Lions can make this a very competitive game, considering how the Vikings defense looked on Monday night, considering they couldn't stop the run. And if DeAndre Swift and Andre Williams are able to get, you know, real good. Oh no, Jamal Williams. Yeah, Jamal Williams are able to rush the football, and then they could get Amon-Ra St. Brown in the mix, TJ Hawkinson. I mean, they have pieces that can really put a competitive matchup. So I like Lions +6. I think that's a very good bet.
And Minnesota's secondary is trash.
Yeah, they're pretty bad. So I feel like this will be a high scoring game.
Yeah, I agree with you. I could see it being high scoring, and you got two quarterbacks that are known to turn the ball over.
Exactly.
So you might have both offenses starting really good
we can't forget about Jared Goff this year. He has 6 touchdowns to 1 pick.
Yeah, that is true. The thing about him that's always been confusing is I feel like he just fumbles a lot of snaps.
Yes,
like especially in shotgun too. Like he gets butterfingers sometimes, but I think 6 that's a little generous. I know the Vikings were good week 1, but that's like really generous. 6 points, almost a touchdown favorite. I get that they're at home, but the Lions,
like they've given people a good run.
They do things, and they're exciting to watch. I'm surprised it's at 6, and especially how up and down their projected win total that you could bet on for the season win, especially after Hard Knocks. I'm surprised that number is so high.
Yeah, I mean it's something I think people should look at.
If you look at it in a vacuum,
yeah,
the Vikings are giving up more points than the Bills are.
Yeah,
are we saying that's correct, regardless of matchup? Should that happen?
Which is a question we should talk about with Vegas Sportsbook, but I don't think they will listen to us in the end because they go, "Oh, how many bets have we gotten wrong?" And it's like, okay, that's a fair point.
Well, and they just want 50-50 action on both sides. They're like, what can we put the line at so people think the Lions can cover, and can we put the line at that the Vikings still get bets?
Yeah, that's definitely something I could definitely see going on. And that kind of leads me into my Nets bet, where I feel like it is a genuine. I feel like it's not a bad bet, but I also am kind of scared of it. The over/under in the Panthers game. So for people that don't know, Myles mentioned it. The Panthers are playing the Saints, and the total is 41. I think over/under, depending on how you look at the teams, I feel like I don't feel like that's bad. Because I could see the Saints scoring 20 points and maybe the Panthers score 16.
Yeah, it's just those offenses.
Yeah,
those offenses have been very
this
hit or
could be
miss.
a 9-6 game for all we know, or it could be like a 28-25 game.
And I do agree. It's just that the only thing is that I feel like the Saints kind of need. Yeah, I do like the over. I would stay away from the spread, but because both teams kind of need the game, I could see it being a really back and forth.
Yeah,
really back and forth.
That's what I feel like. It's not a bad bet, but I also can't say this is something like I need to put my money on this.
Yeah, 100%. It's not like an absolute bet. This is the same way I feel about one of the games that I'm going to throw out right now. I don't have it currently listed on my book, but it was listed earlier this week as Chargers -3 at Jacksonville. As feisty as Jacksonville has been, and they're kind of
Herbert,
I don't know about every.
He's got an injury, so it could happen.
He does have an injury, and the Jags have been feisty, and it's LA going. Is it a home game for the Jags, or is it a? No, it's the Chargers at home. So the Chargers are at home, and we know they don't have much of a home field advantage, but only 3 points. I feel like any other spot with the home field advantage, it's at least 4, at least minimum, if not 4.5.
Some books have it at 4.5.
Oof, I would take that. I saw it today. I can't find it again. So maybe it was just posted wrong, but if anybody out there can grab that 3, that would totally pique my interest.
And who knows, this weekend we might even see the debut. We might see No, it wasn't the debut. We'll see him back in his second game. Keenan Allen after being hurt and J.C. Jackson.
Yeah.
So it could help out the Chargers a lot, to get some maybe some momentum going, or who knows, maybe they see it this week. It's like, hey, we'll be fine if we rest our guys. We like the rest of our roster. But like you said, the Jaguars, they have been playing some solid football. Not the best football, but solid football to keep themselves competitive in games. So I I could definitely see a field goal difference. I could see that.
And the Chargers better not sleep on them because remember last year they flew to Houston when Houston was
And
down
Houston
bad,
just beat the
and
brakes off of them.
bro, Houston was running it down their throat in that game. It was
Embarrassing.
like they had switched jerseys for the game. It was like the Texans were wearing the Chargers jerseys, the Chargers were wearing the Texans jerseys. So
Yeah.
they better not sleep on that one. But I just thought that one was I wouldn't say go all in on it, but I thought it was a little curious, and especially because I saw that 3, but unfortunately I can't find it anymore. It's not even listed, so I, I'll be curious to see where that number ends up at. And then if anybody wants anything, a little action for tonight, I am looking at. I got it earlier in the week at 16. It's only moved up half a point. So you could buy back down to 16 if you want, or you could just ride it at 16 and a half. I'd like Boise State over UTEP. Boise State's offense is not the most fun to watch. They have this senior quarterback that is just bad. It's just bad. But University of Texas El Paso might be one of the worst college football teams we have this year. So I just like the number based on that and fading the UTEP overall talent.
I mean, it's definitely that's the only thing with college football. Sometimes the bets are just like, oh my god, because I really liked Oregon this year, but Bo Nix has like changed my mind.
Bo Nix is not has never been good, regardless of being a senior or not. Bo Nix
I
is just
figured he would
YOLO
do
back
good because
there.
I like Oregon's offense. I like their style of play. I was like, okay, this could work for Bo Nix.
And like this is like last chance, last shot to ever play football for Bo Nix. So like you would
Yeah.
think he would want to put on a show.
And I was like, man, he's gonna go to the Pac-12. There's no defense, and then boom. So I was like, okay, that
Smell
makes
you
it
later.
fun. If not, I would tell people try to see if you could find maybe some like over unders for any USC game. I feel like you can definitely win those because USC has such a dynamic offense, and most of the time they really don't play defense. So I feel like you can definitely hit the over on a lot of those bets that they put. But
Yeah.
let's transition from our bets to fantasy. So there's guys that could have a potential big game this week. Last week we saw massive games from Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews, Tua. I mean, the list just goes on of all the guys who had monster games. So who do you think has the potential to be a fantasy star this week?
So for this week, for the matchups that we do have, I think this is going to be a lame answer because it's not like you can pick him up, but I do think Lamar is destined for another great week. I think the Patriots are going to pretty much say, all right, we're going to take away the running aspect as much as we possibly can. Can you beat our corners one on one? And I'm still not the biggest fan in the Ravens receivers, even after Bateman had, 100 yards against the Dolphins. But as it is right now, like you said, they've been solid, but there's no J.C. Jackson. There's no Stephon Gilmore. These guys aren't walking through the door for New England anymore. So I would like, especially because there is a speed matchup that comes into factor with the Ravens offense, I would like Lamar this week. I wish it was available to grab him, but I think he is going to be one of the highest performers that we get this week.
That's a good one. I'm gonna say this man has a redemption game because last week he had an okay game. I just felt one play that he had that went viral, kind of like messed with him a bit because it was like, oh wow, I need to wake up. I'm gonna say Travis Kelsey has a bounce back game against the Colts.
Okay, I could see it. I could
Sure.
definitely see it, and especially if Shaq Leonard's not playing, we
Yeah,
have to see.
because I feel like he can definitely get open because the Colts they just look bad.
Yeah, straight up bad.
They have looked bad, and with the way Kansas City looks, I'm like, there's no reason why I don't think Kansas City just goes in there and beats you up like left and right. So I can see Travis Kelsey having a monster game against the Colts. I really
Uh,
think so.
And then similar to that, I mean, he didn't get body slammed on national TV a week ago, but Devonte Adams put up a little bit of a stinker last week against the Cardinals, and then we just saw Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs just go nuclear against the Tennessee secondary with no real second wide receiver. He was throwing to Jake Kumaro, who was
Yeah,
on the
he was
Packers like 5 years
torching
ago.
them.
That's what I'm saying. He was throwing to a fullback. Like he went back to 2001 to embarrass the Titans. So I would love Devonte Adams over yardage prop. Anything I can get my hands on Devonte Adams this week, I think, is a formula for success.
I think that's definitely good. Devonte Adams is someone I definitely like. And then let me see one last guy.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to get you guys a tight end that I think
Yeah,
might be able to do something. Well, PFF has so they have fantasy football tools. Their tight end with the biggest advantage going against the linebacker this week is Kelsey versus Zaire
yeah.
Franklin on the Indianapolis Colts.
Dang, I was gonna also say another person you can probably I think might have a good weekend just because of the amount of targets he's been getting. I'm gonna say Christian Kirk.
Bro, he's been good. He's been good. Like making me shut up about the contract. I'll never
Yeah,
say
I'm.
anything again.
No, we talked about as soon as the contract happened. I texted you. I was like, bro, do you see Christian Kirk like what he got? And
That
then
was a head scratcher for me.
now we're seeing him, and he's been good in fantasy. But I feel like
Good.
this week he
Straight
can
up good.
really. I feel like he can really get a big numbers because if the Jags fall behind, I could see Trevor Lawrence just force feeding him that football.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And, he has the speed to beat you over the top. And I just personally thought he was kind of a glorified slot receiver who didn't really get open that much in Arizona. And so I was kind of confused why he got that big of a number. I didn't see where, the market was for him. But I was wrong, and I'll flatly admit it. He's been good to start the season. I think he's helped Lawrence a lot. He's unlocked a little bit of stuff in that offense. I do like that one. And then for tight end, just to wrap this up, I I don't know if he's still available in most people's leagues. I know he went in a couple of my leagues, but if Hayden Hurst is available from the Cincinnati Bengals, I think he might be a good buy low guy. I'm not saying immediately start him into your starting tight end position, but maybe keep him on the bench for a couple games, see how it goes. I think it would be solid insurance for either a bye week to your tight end, or if you have Kittle and you're looking to stream somebody while Kittle works his way back to 100%.
Yeah, I thought Hayden Hurst was gonna have a monster week last week, but it didn't happen for me. But
That
because
whole offense.
yeah, that whole offense, because that was just that was in shambles. But we've already talked about enough of that. But those are some guys that might be able to go like high fly. Because I mean, it's boring saying Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Stephon Diggs, or we say, oh man, I think Debo Samuel's gonna have a big game, and it's like, well, we expect that out of them.
Yeah, yeah. It's we're trying to give you guys outside of the box. I know I gave you Lamar, which obviously
Someone
okay.
like guys who could be league winners.
Yeah, 100% could be league winners or just that diamond in the rough.
Yep.
Those are the guys I look for. I like to at least have one or two roster spots for guys that okay. I didn't start you and you didn't do that great, but I'm in no rush to drop you because I think potentially down the line you might have a stretch of games where you could decide matchups, or I think you could have a really good matchup and put up a lot of points. And I don't want you on somebody else's roster. Like, sorry, I'm selfish. I want you to sit on my bench. Amari
Exactly.
Cooper is currently going through that right now.
Yeah. I mean, our league. I don't think we need to tell anyone. I mean, we tried to work out a trade last week and probably the week before. No, it
It's
was
it's
just
tough.
it,
It's
it
tough
was
in
all
fantasy.
dependent on Kittle, but yeah, I have to admit I was shocked from our fantasy like a scouting report. I didn't know Dom was going to be this aggressive when it comes to moves.
Yeah, he has been hitting everybody up, trying to see, just trying to test the market. But he's done more than test the market. He's gotten a lot of stuff past the goal line.
Yep. I mean, I traded Henry, and next thing you know, he trades Henry. And I was like, wow, like I have to admit, like Dom is aggressive. Like
Who would
Dom
have
will
thought
make
Derrick
moves
Henry gets traded twice in the first 3 weeks of the
in the span
fantasy
of a
season?
week.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Hey! Listen, I'm not gonna take a victory lap. I'm just saying I was a little bit sketch on the guy.
Yeah.
I just didn't like the Titans as a team. So let me not take a
Well,
victory lap on Derrick Henry. But I was just sketch on the Titans.
no, I will admit it because I was like on my head. I was like, oh man, I don't know if I should sell him or not. But then once you told me, it's like, man, that hit take Crowder got on him, and I was like, oh my god, Myles is right. I gotta sell this dude.
Bro,
Like,
I'm just saying, like, because I'm literally watching Red Zone, and I'm like, oh, okay, maybe they drafted somebody that has dreads. And then they replayed it. I'm like, dude, there's no way Derrick Henry just left his feet. Like, that's had to be the first time that's happened to him since he was getting picked up as a kid. Like, you're
Yeah.
not making that man leave his feet.
So I gotta give Myles is either gonna help me win this league when he told me to like say, man, I don't know what's happening to Henry. He either won me my league or I lost because Henry's probably gonna blow up soon. And I'm like, oh god, I'm scared.
Oh, expect a 200-yard game. Like week
But
13, week 14, expect a 200-yard game. All that matters is that you don't face him.
exactly. You know which team he's on now, right?
I don't remember. I saw the trade. I don't remember who got him.
He's on Ed's team, who used to be 50 Shades of Trey, which is now I Am Bateman. His starting lineup is Kirk Cousins, Jonathan Taylor, Derrick Henry, CeeDee Lamb, Rashad Bateman, Darren Waller, Drake London, Saints defense, Ryan Scope, and he has the punter for the Cowboys.
Oh, quick little breaking news for us. Micah Hyde, Jordan Phillips, Dane Jackson, and Ed Oliver all to miss Sunday's Dolphins game.
I figured that one. That they did have a lot of banged up injuries, so now that actually makes the Dolphins receivers a lot more valuable when it comes to fantasy because who knows who they can pick up, but we also don't know what the Bills have holding.
Woo! The line dropped on my book to Dolphins plus 4.5.
Man, that 5.5 was definitely. If it went to 6, I was gonna buy it. I was waiting for it to go up to 6, but
jeez, God, that might be a little disrespectful to the Bills, and I'm a Dolphins fan, but geez, 4.5. That is crazy. That is crazy.
Yeah. Oh, and let's get back to what we were talking about before. So, for anyone that doesn't know, we're gonna spend like the last 8 minutes talking about this. So, me and Myles, I texted Myles yesterday to be a part of a 3-team trade with me and someone else in our league. And I'm not going to say the other person's name because I didn't ask them if they wanted their name to be on the podcast for today's episode. But I will give
Let's just say they've been featured in multiple 305 Takes
podcasts before. They've been on the podcast before. And they really want Mark Andrews from me. And I said, okay, I'm willing to do it. I will give you Mark Andrews for this player, but I need to get like a third team involved because I need a tight end from someone. Like I need.
And then
I
search Myles. Yes.
I hit up Myles because for anyone that doesn't know, Myles has Dallas Goedert and George Kittle on his team.
I got Goddard in like 3 out of the 4 leagues I'm in. Which
I like Goddard. I think Goddard's a good tight end. I feel like he's very solid. You know what you're going to get out of him.
Yeah, and I thought especially it'd be a really solid just backup fantasy. Okay, I just need him for the week that my starting tight ends on a bye week or if he gets banged up.
Yeah, I would have done the trade without Myles if I didn't have the backup tight end that I have. And the backup tight end I have is Gerald Everett. And after last week, I don't know if he'll ever see a football again. I don't know.
Yeah.
I really don't know. So that's what's on my mind. I'm like, okay.
That was a tough scene, especially with him and Herbert standing next to each other on the sideline.
And Herbert just flat out did not want to listen.
Dude, I would have just sat back down. Nah, you guys got this drive. I'm gonna let him cool. I'm gonna let him cool off before he sees me again.
So I was like, okay, maybe he might not get the football again. Maybe he might not get the football. So I will tell you this. I'm willing to put some guys in deal if I could get either Goddard or Kittle.
Goddard or Kittle?
I know you don't want to trade Amari Cooper now because after what we saw last night.
I mean, I have no interest in Amari Cooper, honestly. I wouldn't be opposed to it. It's not like he's like untouchable, honestly. I mean, he had that night, and I still don't think he's ever going to play for me.
That's probably a good answer. I mean, because you have Hill and you have Kupp.
Yeah. So, like, I'm good. And then my flex is really the position that I need to get the most stability at, because right now it's been a rotation of. I still haven't started James Robinson, and I'm just scared to put him in the flex now because I feel like I missed my opportunity. I feel like the moment I put him in to start, he's going to go from double digits to 2 points. And I'm like, oh, yeah. And Lockett, I just feel like he's so boom or bust, and I think the Seahawks are going to be behind most games that I'm fine with him just racking up the garbage time yards.
I mean, because I can put Adam Thielen in a deal, and maybe because I'm pretty sure you don't want Evans because Evans is going to be out this week, so there's no point in offering him.
What about a running back?
I'm a bit running back. All I got,
yeah.
I only have 2 running backs on my roster.
Yeah, the 2 guys starting,
and they're starting, so like I can't really offer you that.
Yeah, I feel that. What about player X? What does his running back situation look like?
Player X. Okay, let me see. What is his?
I'm pulling up his team now. He's got Kamara and Fournette, who are both listed as questionable.
Pollard and Pierce.
Huh. He actually has a really solid team. He's just got a lot of people that aren't playing. He definitely needs a tight end. His starting tight end is Albert O.
The tight end situation was so bad.
Holy.
His tight end gave him a donut last week.
Yeah. And that's a tight end playing with Russell Wilson. You know how hard that is?
Yeah.
You know how hard that is?
So maybe what? Maybe Adam Thielen and Tony Pollard, you send me Goddard or Kittle, and I send them Mark Andrews. I mean, it's something. I'll have to ask him first on that one, but
yeah. I think we could work it out. I mean, I am definitely interested in a couple of guys on his team. The one guy I was looking at on your team that I first saw, but then I saw your running back situation. I was interested in Sanders, but I can't leave you with no running backs.
Well, no, I won't do it either way because, like, if I had a spare running back, then I would do it. I would offer Sanders.
Yeah.
And I don't see the point of offering you Evans if he's not going to give you anything this week.
Yeah, to actually swing my team.
Because if he was playing, I would put Evans in the deal.
Yeah, I could see that, and especially because he scored a touchdown in week 1. Dude, you saw that Pickens catch yesterday?
That was crazy.
That guy's a menace.
People compared it to Odell, and don't get me wrong, amazing catch and ability to bend. The only thing that put Odell over is that Odell was like on primetime Sunday night where everyone watched.
And it was a touchdown. Yes, thank you. Great.
Whereas Pickens, I was like, it was only on Amazon Prime or NFL Plus if you had it, and it wasn't a touchdown.
Yeah, it was Mitch Trubisky's first downfield completion of the game.
Exactly. Whereas like with Odell, I don't even know if Odell saw the football. At least with Pickens, you could tell he saw the football.
And the pass interference and the touchdown. That is the GOAT catch of all time, in my opinion. I don't think
I think so too. It's the most incredible catch I've ever seen.
That was crazy. That really was crazy. But
and this is nothing to take away from Pickens because it's still an amazing catch.
No, Pickens was amazing, and the fact that he was able to one-hand it, bring it to his body, and then land on that side of his body. He landed on his belly, and it didn't move. And we see that happen week in and week out, where guys are trying to make sliding catches, and then it just slips right between their arms. Yeah, and just hits the ground just for a millisecond, and that's all it needs to be incomplete.
Yep. So it's definitely amazing. So it was a great catch. The only thing I still would put Odell above just for the reason.
And the Odell catch started the whole let's use one hand. Like he started that. As much as people want to hate on Odell, he started that.
Yeah. And I would just tell people like, no, Odell was doing that in like the pregame and everything. And people are just like, why are you catching one hand? If he's doing it out there in the field, he's clearly anticipating one day I might have to use it. I'm just practicing. And it came to fruition. That's
because he knew that boy Eli was a little wild back there. He's like, hey, I got to make sure both these hands work, even if I only need one.
I think Eli said it best that night. I remember an interview. He says you have to throw just bad enough for it to be an amazing catch. And I was like, hey, he's not wrong.
Bro, Eli is low-key becoming one of my favorite NFL players. That Chad Power skit he did.
Bro, that was I was amazing. Think
That
fast,
was
run
chef
fast.
kiss.
Think fast, run fast. I was like, bro.
Saying it while running was even better. Was even better.
And I gotta give Eli credit from like people. Eli's like, he's funny. He might not
And
be as
he's
funny as
grown
Peyton.
into himself. Like he
Yeah.
was really dorky in the NFL. And
Yeah.
now I feel like you're getting a genuine side of him where Peyton has like good quick one-liners, but I feel like everything's so rehearsed. Like
Yeah.
I just from seeing him
Eli's just
play
like
and
off the
everything.
dome.
Yeah, he's like, all right, what do I have to lose anymore?
I don't know if you saw in the first Mancast, there was like a clip of it. They had Shannon Sharp there and they asked about the Broncos, like how he asked him, Peyton,
Yeah,
how he
yeah.
feel. And he was like, he goes, he was cut.
He was cut. What are you talking about?
I was like, bro, that's your brother. You know how much the Colts meant to him?
that was comedy. Eli, he is definitely becoming one of my favorite athletes after his playing career because I didn't know he had this little quick on his feet. You know, watching him play quarterback, he was just reckless, and that's kind of how he is in regular life, but a little more calm and funny.
Low key, his Twitter is funny too. I'm like, yo, you guys need to check out his Twitter.
Bro, you saw the TikTok dude that asked how much how much each article of clothing you're wearing is, and then he was like he did that to Eli, and Eli's like, I don't know, my wife bought this, and then he showed the shoes. He's like, yeah, I actually think this is a female's brand. My wife bought this as well, and they're like, all right, describe your style, and he's like, so it's very dad. My goal is to, if anybody ever, anytime, last second needs a golf partner, I'm ready to go no matter what. It was too funny, bro. It was too funny.
We got to give him credit. I mean, the dude is hilarious. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't know it. I don't think you knew either. So hey, more power to Eli. I think he's doing a good job after his NFL career. He's getting some brand deals by being himself. You do you, bro.
Yeah. Shine King.
Well, but guys, we're gonna end it here. We can't wait to see you guys on Monday. We're gonna recap the Dolphins Bills game, talk about our fantasy leagues, both E2G and the one me and Myles are playing in. We're gonna talk about the stars of the week, the busts of the week, and maybe some waiver wire pickups you might want to look into if you have not picked them up already. But guys, until next time, we'll see you on Monday.